Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Church360 Ledger Reports and Reconciliation webinar. Hi, my name is Rod Kiles, and I am the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions Support. I've been here for years and years now. It's hard to think how long I've been here now. But I really appreciate this opportunity and this chance to work with church folk. So it's been really nice. This is the fourth of four webinars. So today is our reports webinar. We'll also talk about reconciliation. If you guys have any questions today, in the future, you can feel free to contact me. You can send an email to rod.kiles@cph.org. You can also give me a call on my desk phone, 314-268-1315. I actually had a call ring in yesterday during the recording of the webinar. So feel free, the phone does work. You can reach out to me if you want to call me, or you can send in an email. Either one works. The phones and microphones are the phones. Phones and microphones are muted. Any questions you have, just type those in the question box. You don't have to wait. You can type those in. Joining me today to answer those questions, she'll support me in this process, is Kimberly Moon. She's been with us several years now. She's familiar with the product. She managed the field testing phase, so she understands the ins and outs of this program. If you have any questions, post those in there. She'll respond to them. If there are any at the tail end when we go through our question and answer session, I'll answer those. So we'll make sure to get your questions answered. These webinars have like a standard flow to them. We're going to go through the agenda, just discuss the things we're going to discuss. We'll talk about the things we're going to have as our discussion portion of this webinar, which is the longest part of the webinar. Then we'll have our quiz. It's just 4 questions. It's a little bit of a refresher on certain main topics. So we'll go through that, and then we'll have a question and answer session if there are any unanswered questions. So these webinars are recorded, and they'll be available at the end of the week. Today's Thursday, so we're getting close to the end of the week, but we'll post all of these webinars out there. They'll send them via email, and we'll post them on our different websites and stuff like that. So I know that I saw in the comments a couple people have missed some of the webinars along the way. We started out talking about data migration, getting your information from old ledger to new ledger. That was session 1 on Monday. Tuesday was basically chart of accounts, but we also talked about budgets. Wednesday was transactions, and today's going to be reports and reconciliation. So each one's broken into little components. I think I ran probably an hour, 10, 15 minutes on each one of those. So there's a little bit of length to them, but you can watch them at your leisure whenever you want to if you don't get all the information today. Okay, so let's go through the different topics that we're going to cover. And I don't have as many slides as I did in the prior ones, but I do have a few slides here. So we're going to talk about reports. There's different types of reports inside of the system. So lots of times I think, we always consider reports to be that piece of paper that we print out, but there's several views that have information that would be considered reporting information. We have a thing that I'm calling special reports. So they aren't actually in the financial reports tab, but they're reports that you may want to access and use. There's also the financial reports tab, which has a list of reports. And in that financial reports tab is where we're going to create our custom reports. So it was quite a few people who were like, hey, can we create other reports? We'd like to make these changes to the reports. So when we went to redesign the software based on all the feedback that we had, and there was lots of feedback, but one thing that was clear, people wanted the ability to do different types of reports. So we've made some modifications. We've created this report writer, and I'm going to show you guys how to create a series of reports today. Okay, so after we get through reports, and then we'll jump into the reconciliation. I'll show you how to do a bank account reconciliation. I have a charge count reconciliation set up. It's really basic. It's exactly the same as the bank account reconciliation, but it allows you to reconcile both of them to make sure that all the transactions that are taking place inside the church can be marked as reconciled. Then we have the event log. It's, I guess, not really a report, but it is something that's in the software where you'll go to view information about things that have taken place, and we'll show the event log as well. It's important. And we might call it the audit log now, so I might have to make that change. Okay, I'm excited, as you guys can tell. I hope you're excited as well. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just describe the views and special reports, then we're going to jump over into the software and go through those different views and special reports. So um, the views run across the top: general ledger view, chart of accounts view, there's the budgets view, but then, and I think I showed this one yesterday, the pay stub report, the payee summary report, and then the reconciliation report. And I'm going to save that reconciliation report towards the tail end because I won't have the report until we close out the reconciliation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll do 6 at the tail end. So let's go to the software and talk about these 5 reports. So everybody who is a Ledger customer will have the option to log into, we used to call it Church360 member. It's just basically Church360, as you can see by the name here in the address bar. So it's church360.app. Everybody should have rights to log into it. Whenever you decide to migrate, for those customers who don't have access, you can contact us, you can work with us and work with your administrators for the software to get access to the program. So the $ here on the left-hand side launches the Ledger module, and this is the screen that you'll land on. You'll land on this overview screen. There's navigation across the top, and these are the views that we're going to talk about with reporting today. So there is a snapshot here on the overview. It has this account balance across the top, which is your account types at the highest level. It's always in balance. Assets equals liability plus equity. And then in our parentheses, it's income minus expense and funds. And that's always, that is amazing. I've received 2 calls, both during the webinar. But it's always in balance. So when I say it's in balance assets do equal the other side, but also it counts all of your transactions as well. So some people will ask, well, is it available balance or is it current balance? It is available. So if you write your payroll transactions, today's Thursday, you enter them in the system and they're not going to be due till Friday, it'll include those in these balances. And then there's your snapshots for income at a glance, expense at a glance, your top funds, top accounts on the left, and top funds on the right. So I'm going to go to the general ledger view, and the majority of our views are also reports. They'll have date ranges, and I'm going to go to the date range, filters, they'll have show options, they'll have print and export options. So these views are also considered reports. And lots of times people will go to these views, they'll simply view the information, find what they're looking for, and just look at it. But then there's also times they're gonna kind of set this up and then send this information out to a piece of paper by the printer, or either export this information to Excel. So this has a date picker here at the upper left. And there was a very specific date picker in the old ledger, and we kind of went through and reworked the date picker to give us similar functionality. It's not 100% the same. You can kind of tell that there's differences here, but we're hoping that this fits the bill and is a little less confusing in some aspects. So, but down the left-hand side, there's going to be time frames or time periods, and then you can work whatever date range you want over here as well. So if I wanted the month of October, there's a couple ways that I could do that. I could say last month, since this is now in November, or I could click in the first date of October. That will put the, I guess, the bookend or the left side there, then click down here on the second one and click that second time period at that point. So, and then I just click confirm, and then this is all of my ledger transactions. And these are transactions, not line items. All of my ledger transactions here, and allow me to either print or export that information from the system. I could also, inside this view, if I just wanted to see all checks, I could say check, press enter, and then my Ajax loader will allow me to know that, hey, it's processing and thinking. And then from there, it'll show me just all of my checks. Let me press enter on that. There we go. It is going to fight me today. These are checks. Oh no, it's showing a deposit. We will take a look at that, figure out what's going on with that. But it's supposed to be able to filter by the transaction type. So church supplies. And it's supposed to filter by check as well. So okay, we will take a look at that. Okay, so from there, you have the option to show your voided transactions and hide your voided transaction. I voided a transaction yesterday, but that might have been in the month of November that I voided that transaction. Then there's the print option, which allows you to take this information and pull it up in a print view. If you have headers, you'll go to more settings and you can show and hide your headers. Then at that point, once you see it, and if you like what you're seeing there, then you go to print. And it'll take that information and send it out to a print view, or send it out to your printer. Okay, and then there's export. Sometimes people will take this information, export it out, and create their own reports outside the software. We definitely heard from people that they didn't want to create all their reports outside of the software, so we made some changes inside the program and still allowed you to be able to export the information from the program. So you can still take the data and export it outside into Excel. And I think these are typically going to be CSV files, so that if you are if you're using Windows or if you're using Mac, you can still get that information into your spreadsheet program. So this is our general ledger report, our general ledger view, which can be used as a report. To the right of that is going to be the chart of accounts report. And the chart of accounts report is the chart of accounts view, but it also includes balances and these action buttons in here that allow you to make changes to your accounts. Now, we didn't want this just to be something where you managed your accounts. It was clear by watching people's behaviors and actions with old ledger that this was a spot that they would go to find accounts, to look at accounts, to manage accounts, but they also wanted to see the balance and have the ability to jump over and see the transactions that were associated with this account. So like this is Central Trust Checking. I can click this caret right here. That'll jump me over to here where I have printed export options, where I can also filter based on a date, and I can just see the transactions based on this account. So even though I start at a place that is just showing accounts, I can go to another place and view more and additional information at that point in time. And if I get to the Central Trust Checking, I can go to Ancestry, and I can navigate at that point to a different place by using Ancestry. So these are like the breadcrumbs that allow you to move around throughout the software. There are several ways to find an account. You can start at the chart of accounts. Once you're in an account, you can use Ancestry. You can also use the search here at the upper right. There are all ways to just kind of get to the location you want to get to within the software. Now I'm going to go back to the chart of accounts. If I'm in the chart of accounts, I can filter, and we're going to try filter again here. And if I just want to see all the asset accounts, I can type in asset. It'll just show the asset accounts. And then at that point, I can go to print, or I can go to export, and I just have the information that I want at that point in time. And this is probably a little small there. But that's another way to get a report as well. So then there's the export option to be able to export it and just see your chart of accounts. Now this doesn't have the totals on it. It's just literally a chart of accounts report. But we're going to show a couple other account style reports here, quite a few other account style reports here as we continue to move forward. Okay, so that's the chart of accounts view. We're going to skip over financial reports here just for a second, go to budgets, and the budgets view shows all of your budgets. So you can change and select different years. You can go through and review the history at that point in time. I don't know if this has any budgets in 2016, but you can go back in time. You can review this information. You can have it on hand to help make future determinations. You can see the trends and the patterns based on your budgets. You can also create budgets and actual reports underneath financial reports. But once you've got the year that you want, if you want to, you can then print that report. You can take it and send it out to a print view. Click cancel. Then you can also go to export. And I talked about this in probably our second training. There's export all and export budgetable. The export all is every single account in here. Export budgetable are just going to be the accounts that are designated as being budgetable, even though I don't think that's a word. But budgetable means that, hey, they've been designated on their account, not detail page, but when you're in chart of accounts, you can edit account, you can check a box that says that, hey, this account has a budget. And this is showing all of those at that point in time. So depending on how you're looking at it, seeing all of the accounts gives you an understanding of the hierarchy and what's going on. Seeing just the budgetable accounts might be easier because it may cut out half of your chart of accounts and you're literally just working with these ones that are white and not gray at that point in time. So it can save you a lot of time. So we included both of those. And I think lots of times when people are dealing with budgets, they're just going to work with the budgetable accounts. That's my gut feeling, but we'll see how it goes. Sometimes people gravitate one way or the other, but seeing it just without the all of the additional, I'm going to show that one as well. But export all, and seeing it without all the additional parent accounts, I think makes it a little easier to read. Okay. So I'm going to close that. That's print, export, import. If you export it, then you can then import it, and that's how the importer works. So we've talked about general ledger, chart of accounts, budgets. Let's take a look at, I'm going to go to gear, and then I'm going to scroll down to our payees. And underneath payees, leave that right there, underneath payees, is you're going to see all of your payees. Now, there's this little icon here to the left, and that lets us know, hey, these individuals could receive a 1099. And we don't generate an actual 1099, but we generate what's called a payee report. So when you click on the caret to the right of that row, then it takes you over to what we call the payee detail view. And there's this option that says summary report. It'll show you all of the years. You click on calendar 2024, that's the current year. And then you have this report right here. Then you can just print this out and give this to the person so that they can fill out their taxes, or you can take this information and provide it to a company to generate actual 1099s. Just depends on however you're going to do it. So. But this is the payee summary report. It's very similar to the one that we had in Old Ledger, and it just provides how much was paid to this person via each one of the line items, each one of the accounts, and it's going to be in balance, and you'll be able to see that information. Okay, so that's the payee report. The one that I didn't do yet was the pay stub report, and I want to show that one again. I don't want to say it's necessarily buried, but you do have to go into a transaction to print that pay stub report. So I clicked on the $ here on the left-hand side. That takes me back to the overview screen here. Then If I go to, we're talking about a transaction, so I'm gonna go to General Ledger. And in the General Ledger, I can see my transactions. I did filter it to October, so I'm gonna say this month over here on the left-hand side and confirm. And I've got a few payroll transactions in here. That's in late November, so I'm gonna do the ones that I did yesterday. November 6th, I created this payroll transaction. So if I click on that row, then click on the caret, it's caret, it's actually an arrow. It jumps me over to the transaction. Then at the top, I have these action buttons. The print pay stub button, print pay stub button allows me to see this pay stub, and then I can send that out to the printer. So it looks like a pay stub, which is really cool to me, that it has earnings and deductions, taxes, payroll summary. It's all in there, and I just think that's the coolest thing. So at that point, then I can click print. I have it here, and then I can print that information out. So that's really cool. Okay, so that is the fifth of the views and special reports. We'll do reconciliation here in just a minute. So after that, let me go back to my slideshow here. Here we go. We're going to talk about financial reports. So financial reports, there are, and I don't have the count, let's see here. There are several financial reports. I want to say we have 5 default ones. So financial reports, there's the balance sheet. It compares your assets, liabilities, and equity. Chart of accounts. There's the check register. There's the general ledger, which is a form of a register as well. And then there's the statement of income and expense. So there are 5 default financial reports. These are ones that come with the system. When it comes to the financial reports, you can copy them. So you can make a duplicate of them and then modify them at that point in time. The default ones can't be modified, but you can save copies and make different changes. You can also spin up a custom report just from scratch as well, just adding in things. But let's go through these 5 financial reports first, just to kind of show you what they are, what they look like, kind of how to use them. And then we're going to create some reports after that. So financial reports, let's go back to Ledger. So we're going to go up here to our menu bar, and we're going to click on financial reports. And technically it's the sub navigation. So this is our menu bar here on the left, and this is our sub navigation or our module navigation. And every single one of the modules typically has this type of navigation in it. So menu bar and sub navigation. So then we'll go to the financial reports. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got that 5 right. So I'm logged in as a ledger administrator. So I have full access to everything. I can add new reports. I have these action buttons over here that allow me to star a report. It says delete report, but I can't delete the custom reports. There's edit, which allows me to make a copy of these default reports and create something. And then this little arrow here allows me to jump over and preview the report. So we're going to preview the balance sheet. The balance sheet is a asset, liabilities, and this report matches the report from old ledger. So it has assets, and then at the bottom, it has liabilities, and then it does assets minus liabilities. So in the old ledger, the equity was hidden. So it just basically did net assets, technically, if you want to think about it that way. So it did assets minus liabilities, and the difference was net assets. So this is that report. This year's starting balance, this year ending balance, this year's debits, this year's credits, plus minus change and change percent. So it has these columns. Some people are going to like those columns, and some people are going to want different columns. Not everybody fully understands debits and credits. They just don't. And I understand why, because the terms mean different things for different account types. So you may decide you want to copy this report and eliminate the debits and credits and just use this year's starting balance, ending balance, change plus minus, and change percent for your balance sheet report. So that's going to be a choice that you'll get to make because you'll be a ledger administrator and you can create your own reports. Now, there is an option to have a role that is not a manager of a report. So you don't have the option to manage reports. You just have the option to, I want to say it's review reports or view reports. And when you have that option, you can literally view reports. You can't, make your own reports at that point in time. And when we were reading through the feedback, we could tell that, hey, we wanted to be able to share information. Users wanted to be able to share information, but not have people make changes. And reports was part of that whole thing. They wanted to be able to set up reports that showed the proper level of information, and that information not be expanded upon or modified or changed. Like, hey, this is the information I want you to see. I'm providing this. This is clear. It doesn't add any additional questions. We're good to go with that. And then if you have questions, I can provide more information at that time. So this is the balance sheet report. Then there's the chart of accounts report. Chart of accounts report is all of our accounts. It's not just like a prior one where it's assets and liabilities. As we scroll down, we see assets, liabilities, a little bit further, equity. It's got retained income and it has book equity. Then we've got our income. We've got that funds is technically an income account named fund. Then we scroll down a little bit further, we get into expenses, and then we have our equity-backed funds, get all the way down to the bottom, down here at the bottom. So this is showing all of our accounts inside of the system. So you can just literally see, hey, this is starting balance, ending balance, debits, credits, change plus minus, and change for every single account inside the system. Okay, and that's a chart of accounts report. Let's go financial reports here. Then there's the check register report. And actually, I'm going to show the general ledger report first and then come back to the check register report. So the general ledger report is set here on the right-hand side for the whole year. So it's going to take a little bit to load. It's not going to load as quick as some of the other reports. So it's pulling all of the transactions for all of 2024. And it's putting it it's grouping them by account at that point. So assets, central trust checking, these are all of those transactions. And I believe this general ledger is showing all accounts. Scroll down, and I can tell it's showing all accounts. Over here on the right-hand side, you might be able to see my mouse moving there. This scroll bar is really small. So that means that I have to go a long way from the top to the bottom to see everything. So then from there, we get into liabilities, and then we have our accounts, and we can see all of the line items for these accounts and see the dollar amounts and the running balance. I like that it has the running balance because I can set the date range. I can see what the balance of this account at the start of the finance year or fiscal year, and I can see the balance at the end of the fiscal year, and I can see that running balance as it applies every single transaction. So that's really cool. I'm not going to scroll through this whole thing. I'm going to click home here to jump myself back up to the top. But this is the general ledger report. The general ledger or the ledger style register reports in here allow you to filter by transaction type. So basically you have a general ledger, but you can build a check register off of the general ledger report. And this report is based on that. So this is a check register. So it's got all of our checks, asset, central trust checking. We can see the running balance and how the balance has decreased. Since we're not seeing deposits, that running balance probably should be taken with a grain of salt there. But this allows us to see all of our checks and just know, hey, these were the checks that took money out of our checking account throughout the year, since this was set to all of the year. Okay, so that's January through December. Then that's that one. And then the statement of income and expense. And statement of income and expense probably is the most used financial report because it compares what you brought in to what is going out. Everybody, most people budget expenses. Like that's just the thing that everybody does. But then, a good percentage of people also budget income accounts. So when you're in here, you can see this year's budget, this year's actual, a percentage of the budget or what the percentage of the budget is. So like I look here and this year's budget was 358,000. This year's actual, we brought in 323,000 and we're 90% to budget at that point in time. So we've got a couple more months. We're probably going to make that total budget at that point in time. Okay, so this is the statement of income and expense. The question that has been asked quite a bit is, can I add like annual budget or annual actuals to this report? And you can by copying and creating a custom report. So I'm going to go back to financial reports. That is all of the default reports, kind of like the canned financial reports that are here in the system. These are it, but you can create your own, which is really cool. And we have a lot of, I'm going to call them columns right now, that you can add into these. So let's start out. I want to pull up my notes so that I can speak to these and do a pretty good job of it. So we're going to show copying and we're also going to show creating several from scratch. And let me go back and just switch my slide. Oh, I did include the debits and credits chart here. You're not going to have to use the debits and credits chart during reports, but as I was showing, hey, guess what? You can include a debits and credits column. So I just wanted to show this briefly and that, hey, assets, a credit is decreasing and a debit is increasing. An income, credit is an increase and debit is a decrease. So whenever we're creating those reports and we're inserting that information, we always want to consider the audience and whether or not debits and credits make sense for that audience. And if they see that, they may not understand that, hey, that credit really is decreasing and it's not increasing. So I just wanted to include the debits and credits chart because I'm going to be showing some debits and credits columns when we go to create these reports here in just a moment. Okay, so custom reports. Custom reports, basically you can customize the reports that are here inside of New Ledger. So you can modify a report that's here, or you can go to add new report and just create a report from scratch. So why don't we start and click here, click here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so why don't we start with modifying the statement of income and expense. So statement of income and expense, usually you just run the statement of income and expense for the current finance year. Not that there aren't versions that allow you to run it, year over year and different things. You can definitely create those as well. But statement of income and expense, I'm going to click on the edit report button. And this allows me to edit the report. So you'll notice we have a title across the top. I'm going to have to change the title because I can't make modifications to the default one. So I'm going to call this statement of income and expense with W year to date totals. So then this report can be seen by other users. Whenever you create these reports, you're determining the audience in multiple ways, like, hey, what information should I show in this report? Or who should I allow to see this report? So if I uncheck this box, no one else is going to be able to see this report. This is just a report that I'm setting up and I'm working through. And then when I do check the report, check the box, anybody who has the review reports option will be able to see this report within the system. So if they have access to New Ledger and they have the review reports option, then when you go to financial reports, they'll actually see this report. So there's some of that understanding that, hey, when you set these up, if you have access and then you have review access, then you have access to see these reports. So the ledger administrator is going to be part of the, I guess also the software administrator to determine who can see what within the software. So title, I've modified the title because I'm going to be saving this as a copy. I can have section titles, so I can say leave this blank, and then I can say what time period I want for this report. And these, this view is a template for when we go out of this and we go back to the other screen, click on the arrow, that's going to pull all the information. So this is a template. The template allows you to go through and see this information month over month. So if I have this set to current year and current month, every time I view the report, it's current year and current month. And if I want to see a different month or a quarter, I can do that as well. But I'm saving this as a template for future viewing. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and then scroll back up. So with these reports, you can create sections. And since it's a statement of income expense, the priority is viewing and comparing income versus expense. But you can add sections as well. And I'm going to show adding sections here in just a minute. But I just wanted to kind of make that known that, hey, this literally is a section of the report. So we have income and expense, and we have funds. We have our chart depth. And the chart depth, you know how it's like assets and then checking accounts, and then we have our central trust checking. Each one of those is a chart depth, and you can take it all the way back up to right below your account type. And then you can go down as far as your kind of your waterfall goes at that point in time. And whenever you're setting up your chart of account, the less is more approach is important. You have too many accounts, it's hard to read and hard to understand. But you're also thinking about that chart depth as you're setting it up. And you're trying to understand, like this right here says offering funds. These are things that people give to from offerings. And as I shrink that, you see that goes from showing the different funds to it just being the word funds and it being a total. So then if I shrink it again, we get down just to offerings at that point in time. So as you're going through chart depth, you're trying to figure out, hey, how much do I want to show? Like, where is my audience at with this information? So I'm going to take mine down to 1 so that my report isn't quite as long. Then there's a summary down at the bottom. So when I click on summary, I'm saying, hey, what do I want to show in relationship to the account types that I've selected? So I have income, expense, and funds. And in this one, I'm saying, okay, include the income, include the expense, add the income, subtract the expense, and this is what I see right here. So I'm going to go over here, and on the right-hand side, there's add column, and this allows me to insert a column into the report at that point in time. So we have budgets, actuals, credits, debits, starting balance, ending balance, percent, difference, and ahead, behind. So the budgets, actuals, credits, debits, starting balance, and ending balance, those are literally looking at your data for a time period, and it's inserting a column. The percent, difference, ahead, behind, those 3 are going to be comparing 2 columns together. So it's going to take a look at, and it could be one of these 3 columns that is comparing with another column, but usually it's like remaining is the difference between budgets and actuals. And percent of budget is the percentage between budgets and actuals. So you're doing that type of comparison. Yeah. Okay. So year to date, how do I add the year to date to this report? So year to date, we're going to add year to date budgets and year to date actuals. So I click on the budget, it pops this window out. That looks pretty good. And then I can select, like we notice here at the top, it says current month, current fiscal year. So when I go over here, Current month is November. Current fiscal year is 2024. So let's see, current month, current year, this month, this year. Year to date. Okay, so year to date is to today's date. Year to month, this year to November, this November is looking at this period. So it's saying current month, November. And then this year is running the whole year. So whenever I run this report, if I have year to date, it's running to today. And if I run this year, it's running through the end of this year. So if I have a situation where, hey, I'm looking for October, I'm going to be trying to make sure to select month options so that I'm not including transactions from November. So I'm going to say year to November. Click on that option and click add. Before I click add, I just want to mention this column option. It was clear that people wanted to rename their column headers. All the verbiage isn't exactly the same. Some people like the credits and debits. Some people will just say total. Some people will say January 1st. Some people will say at the end of 12/31. So there's different terms and different verbiages that people will use. So depending on what you want to do, you can type in, so you can uncheck and then type in the name of the column and then click add. So I'm going to take mine out. This is add. So this is year to November budget. And then I'm going to add the actuals, year to November actuals, and insert that as well. So if I want to see those totals on the report, I can just insert those at that point in time. So this is this year, this is this year's actuals, which I kind of duplicated that, but if these were monthly, then this would be annual over here at that point in time. So once I'm done, then I'm going to go back up to the top and save a copy. And that creates my statement of income and expense with year-to-date totals. And then I can click here to actually view the report. So I'm going to fix that though. I'm going to go back, financial report with year-to-date totals. So this is this year's budget. I'm going to change this to this month's budget. So I'm going to say this, but I'm going to click here and I'm going to say this month. So I'm going to say November, which is our current month, and then update. And then this year actual, I'm going to switch that to November and update. And then give that just a second to load. So November's budget is this, November's actual is this. For the month, we're 110% to budget. Remaining, we're over. So because it's doing subtraction, it's saying negative 2,900. You can switch that if you want that to be the reverse. You could say, you can click on remaining and then unclick these basically and put actual on top and budget on bottom and then update. And now that's a positive number. So it is subtraction. So, and it's for the whole report. So you'll have to decide, if you want a negative to show or not at that point in time. So I've updated that because I wanted months on the left-hand side and I wanted annual here on the right-hand side. And then I just update report. And I can then click on it here at that point in time and see the numbers for November. Now, this is November. November, we're only 7 days into November. And if you say you want to see the October numbers, you can go to Financial Reports, Edit, and then there's two things you can do. You could just switch this to the month of November. That's not what I would suggest though, but literally you could just, the month of October. And this report will always view for current fiscal year for the month of October. What I think people should do is leave this on current month and then set this report for months before November and then put 1 in there. and then set this one for months before November. And you have to click on the block over here and then put 1. If you don't click on the block, then it doesn't select that row. So even though you put a number in there, you do have to click on the block and then click update. So then you're actually seeing the whole year at that point in time. So we've got October 24, October 24, and then I'm going to go back up here and update. And then whenever I view this report, it's showing for the prior month, and it's the full amount at that point in time. I'm not seeing partial November. And if you want to see the partial one, then you just, you create another copy of this report. Okay. Kenneth asked the question, does remaining column mean balance? Good question. So the remaining column does not mean balance. Let me look at my report samples and let me show, let's see, let's look at, my first example here, the account balances report. And I think that's a good example to answer your question there, Kenneth. Okay, so we are in financial reports. I'm going to say add new report and then new report. And we're going to call this the account balance, current balance report. This report can be seen by others, add section, and you want to add your section before you save your report. So when you go to add section, there are 3 types of sections. There's accounts, there's ledger, and then there's text. So accounts is what we've seen on all our, not on all of our reports, but on the majority of the reports that we've talked about so far. So it's mostly accounts. Those are going to be where you see your asset accounts, liability accounts, income accounts, expense accounts. Ledger is going to be where you see the like a ledger of either line items, and I think they're all line items. So the ledger is going to be line items that you're going to see. You're going to select the account, and you're going to see your line items for a date range. And text is going to be inserting a block of text onto your report. So let's go with accounts, and underneath accounts, it automatically over here, well, fiscal year, current month. And we're going to do current month. So filtering account types, this is account balances. So I'm using all of my account types. I'm going to go depth 1. And then before I do my summary, I'm going to insert my columns. So I'm going to start out with starting balance, which is our starting balance. And I'm going to say this year. So starting as of my fiscal year runs January through December. So starting this year, January 1, and I'm going to say add. Then I'm going to ending balance. So starting balance, actually I'm going to do actual year to month. So I'm going to say actual, so starting balance, and then I'm going to say year to month, and through November at that point in time, and then say add. So this is the starting balance. This is the actuals from the start of the year till now. And then I'm going to put the ending balance for year to month, ending balance, and then I'm going to say year to date. Let me think just a second. Year to date. I'm going to change this one by clicking on the column header and change this one to year to date as well and update. So this one is year to date actuals, year to date ending balance, 727,000 plus 131,000 equals 858,000. And then that would be my account balances report. And then if I wanted to, at the very bottom, I could do a summary. And my summary could be liabilities plus equity plus income minus expenses, plus my fund balances at that point in time. And then that's going to put all this information down here. 890,000 matches this 890,000 up here for my assets, and then has my actuals, and then has my ending balance down here at the bottom. So, and that could be my account balances report. If I want to add a note, I can say add section and say text. Note provided by treasurer. Created this report on November 11th, 2024. All is well. And then what I would do is once I type that in, I'd go back up to the top and then save report. And then that saves my report at that point in time. Okay, once my report is saved, I can then go back to my report and I can edit the report, or I can click on it and it'll calculate and show all the information that I want at that point in time. So that's the account balances report. I think that answers your question there, Kenneth, about the ending balance. Let's create, let me look at the time here. Let's create I want to create 2 more reports. So let's create the, I did a statement of income and expense. So let's create a trial balance report. So that one has the credits and debits. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top, financial reports, add a new report, and we're going to call this a trial balance report. This report can be seen by others. Add section. I'm going to add accounts. And then trial balance report is going to include all of our account types. I'm going to say all of our accounts. So our chart depth should be all the way out at that point in time. Our summary, we are going to include all the positives at that point in time. If it's a balance sheet report, that's when you could do pluses and minuses. So that question might come up because with certain balance sheet reports and statement of financial position, assets are supposed to equal your liabilities plus your equity. So that's when you would work in your pluses and minuses. Okay, and then from there, so this is the trial balance report. We're going to start with debits, and we're going to say debits for this year, and then add, and then we're going to put in our credits, and these are our credits for this year. And then we are going to say change debits minus credits. So these last 3 percentage difference and ahead behind, this is a difference, and we're going to call this column change, is where we're going to see like the delta or the change between the two. So we're going to say debits in our first column. So we'll go up here, we'll click, and then we'll click the second one, and then that'll insert that in there and click on add. So in looking at this report, these are all of our debits, these are all of our credits, and this is the difference between the two. As we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see that for all of our reports. And I know that auditors lots of time like to see the trial balance report. So I wanted to show the creation of this report. And then I've got a few lines here. So when I get to the bottom, I'm going to see my summary. And we've got our change here. We've got $679,895, $680, and then we've got the $83.33. So we're in balance at that point in time. Okay, so that's the trial balance report. I do want to show creating a ledger report, and that's a deposit register report. So I'm going to go back to the top here, click on, oh, I didn't save my report. Save my report. Then click on New Report, and we're going to do a deposit register. So this is deposit register. This report can be seen by others. Add section. This is a ledger report. And then we're going to set our date range. I'm just going to do the month of October. So I'm going to say October, start here on October 1 and go through October 31st. And then I will select my accounts. Now I'm going to select all of my asset accounts. So you'll kind of see how I move my mouse. And as you get to different parent accounts, it'll include the actual bank account below it at that point in time. But if I select all assets, then I'll be able to see all deposits. And you can just click. And once you click, they just stay selected at that point in time. So I'm going to click Update. And then this is going to include all my deposits for this time frame. Well, technically it's all my transactions until I go to filtering. Then I'm going to uncheck payment, uncheck checks, transfers, payroll, and journal entries. These are my deposits. I can title this, it really could be deposits for the month of October 2024. And I could put that in the section title as well if I wanted to, but I'm sharing it, I can save it. And then there's my report, deposit register, and I can click over here and I can see that report at that point in time. So, but since I set the days to October, this would always show for October 2024. Now there's one other button I want to show in here. It's the starred reports. I've only added a couple reports, and this list for lots of people is going to get long. Like it's just going to run on and on and on. But you can star a report, and then once you've starred that report, the next time you come back to the screen, that report will jump to the top. And right now we don't have a whole lot of reports, but as people begin to use it and you've got 20, 30, 40 reports, you'll definitely want your favorites at the top. And then below that, all of those will sort alphabetically. Okay, so that's reports. The next thing, and if there's any other reports you guys would like to see, we can show some more reports, and we can, post help center articles on how to create reports and stuff like that. I only went through a couple of them, but I know there's going to be like, hey, I'd like to see this type of comparison versus that type of comparison. So, and you can do year over year, which I didn't show the year over year. But there's more comparisons and more options, and you can tell by the things there. But we'll be here to help out with that. Okay, so let's jump into the bank account reconciliation. So to reconcile your bank account, you'll go into the account that you want to reconcile. I think most people are just going to go to chart of accounts and then click on the caret, the arrow to the right of the account they want to reconcile. So when you click on that arrow, it's going to take you to that account. Across the top is going to be your like your account description. Here's the account number, here's the account type. Use for checks is yes, use for payments is yes. And then the presence of the reconciliation tab means that you can reconcile this account. I don't think I showed this here on the right hand side yesterday. This is the available balance. These are our scheduled transactions in the future, and this is our current balance. So you always want to look at that big number at the top so you know your available balance. So to do a reconciliation, you'll click on reconciliation, and then there's going to be an add reconciliation button. And the add reconciliation button will start the reconciliation process. Once you complete your reconciliation, down toward the bottom will be a list of all of the reconciliations that you've completed. So add reconciliation. Statement date is the end date on your bank statement. So I'm going to say October 31st. I've got my my bank statement here, my bank statement, the one I'm doing for this presentation. Then I can enter in the starting balance. And the starting balance literally should be the starting balance on your bank statement. So, and I typed my number in incorrectly. So that would have been a problem. 621,824.37, and then the ending balance, 632,871.68. 632,871.68. So that's my starting balance and my ending balance. When I put those two numbers in, that calculates like this number between the two. And when I start checking my transactions, that then works with my off buy to get me down to zero. So my goal is for that number to be zero. So we did add in a date filter. I'm going to encourage everybody to be really careful with the date filter. Selecting a date range can exclude transactions that you want to reconcile. So I'm doing the month of October. So I'm going to select my date range for the month of October and do confirm. And you just want to be careful because, yeah, mine's a fake reconciliation. I've got it set up. It's pristine. I don't have, checks that were sent out 45 days ago that are coming in. So you just want to be careful with your date ranges because lots of times you can end up in a situation where you're missing a transaction if you aren't careful with the date range. So I have my bank reconciliation here, and most problems happen when it comes to reconciling accounts. It always lands on either transactions are missing, literally from the system. If they are missing, you'll click Save Later to save your place. You'll go back out to just your regular ledger here, and then you'll add the transaction in. There's situations where they've got two transactions in for the same amount and they've selected both of them. That always causes a problem. And there's also where balances can be off. So you just want to make sure, like the goal of what you're doing is making sure that what has cleared the bank is being reconciled in this process. So this being my bank statement, I'm saying that, hey, I've entered these transactions correctly and I'm verifying that through this process. So like when I see this October 28th for 198.05, I click it on there and then I'll put a little check on my paper marking that one off. And it's kind of a slow, tedious process. So I'm not going to check every one, but if you're doing a real reconciliation, you are literally checking every single one on a piece of paper. And if you go through and as you're selecting them, you find one that doesn't match or one that is missing, that one you circle, and then that allows you to say, hey, I need to review that. And you have to get to the bottom of what's going on with those ones that are missing or those that don't match. You should always create one single transaction for everything that is done in a single transaction out in the real world. So if this deposit is $4,590 and I add in multiple deposits together to create this deposit, then I won't be able to find just a single transaction on my statement. I'll have to combine multiple together to be able to get that to work. There's a lot on 2025, so on October 25. So 7619, 779, 779. Okay, that page is clear. I'm just going to go through and make sure I click each one of these. Oh, there it goes. 0. Okay. Once you've gone through, you've verified every single transaction, at the very top, you'll be able to see all of your deposits, all of your withdrawals, um, and that's based on the type of transaction. Journal entries, of course, can be either a deposit or a withdrawal based on the way things go. You're off by a 0. If you're off, I'm going to save for later, even though I'm off by a 0. I'm going to give that just a second. So if you're not done and you're not ready to post, you just save for later, and then that'll save your reconciliation so that it's here in the system. But once you are done, you just want to click post. Give that just a second. There we go. Changes saved. My system's running just a little bit slow. Okay. An error occurred. These sticky messages, I'm not sure when that error occurred, but to dismiss those messages, you just click on them. If you receive an error, you can definitely reach out to us and let us know. And that might just be that it's running slow, and that's the reason why that error occurred. I got a little hourglass here at the upper left there. Okay. Absolutely. I'm going to stop and reload my screen to see what happens here. I'm going to ask my coworker if we're having a slowdown. Okay, give me just a few more seconds here. I think I'm having computer problems. No, that one's working. Let's do the quiz. And then I am assuming that, let's do the quiz, and I'm assuming that it'll come back here shortly. Okay. Quiz. And that should be working. So polls. Launch. Okay. True or false? The general ledger view has an option to show voided transactions. Okay. Let's see, give it just a few more seconds here. Okay, looks good. All right, end poll and share the results. 100% of the people said true. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the answer. So true, the general ledger view has an option to show voided transactions, while the general ledger report excludes voided transactions due to customer demand. Okay, next question. Question number 2. Polls. True or false? The default statement of income and expense report can be modified to include year-to-date totals. True or false? Okay, that looks good. I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results. 88% said true and 12% said false. So I'm going to close the poll and show the answer. True, yes, users who have the right to manage reports can edit and save a copy of any of the default reports. So even though it doesn't come default that way, if you'd like to create one, you definitely can. Okay, question number 3. Go to polls, launch. When working on a reconciliation, you find out a transaction is missing. What should you do before you add the transaction? Close the web browser, click Save on the report, or click Save on the report, click Save for later, or click Post. A, B, or C. Okay, we'll give it a few more seconds here. We are all on the same page on this one. It was the most recent thing we did too. Okay, I will end this one and share the results. Everybody was unanimous. 100% said click save for later. So that's the answer. Answer is B. Close poll. Answer is B. Click the save for later button to save your work and close the reconciliation screen. I didn't get a chance to show this yet, but once the transaction has been entered, you can go back and continue from where you left off. So you can go back and continue, and then of course you can post it after that point. Question number 4, true or false? I didn't get to show this one either. To print a past reconciliation, go to the event log and click print. So let me share the poll so you guys can answer that one. Okay, I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results. And 75% said true, 12% said false. Close poll, share the answer, and the answer is false. A bank account reconciliation, well, I guess I'm going to read this, but I'm also going to explain a little bit further. A bank account reconciliation report can only be printed from the reconciliation tab under an account details views. So in the past version, you did go to the event log to print that report. Going forward, you'll go to this reconciliation tab, click the arrow icon for the desired reconciliation and click print. Let's see if it came back up. Okay, so if you guys hang out with me just a minute or two longer, I will show posting and reporting, and then I'll let you guys go. Okay, so $, and actually I'm going to do search central. And actually I'm going to do search accounts central. And then do central trust checking. That's the one that I'm reconciling. Click on reconciliation, and then I'm going to continue my reconciliation. Looks like it lost all my check boxes. Oh, date range. Okay. Post. Give that just a second. Reconciliation posted. October 31st is down here. You click on the arrow pointing to the right, and then that allows you to print your reconciliation report at that point in time. Okay. And that is the final report. Do you have any questions? It looks like Kimberly stayed on top of all of the questions. Okay. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, well, you have my contact information and the team's contact information. So if there are any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback as well, that allows us to make these types of decisions and these type of adjustments based on knowing what you guys like and don't like and what you'd prefer to see in the future. So we'd love to hear that as well. So thank you for attending today's Church 360 Ledger webinar. For any questions, please email support@cts.cph.org. Of course, you can give us a call at 1-800-346-6120 if you'd like as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your time over these last 4 days. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We got Friday to get through too as well, but hope you have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.